Peace to the planet. You know what it is, man. It's a decent Banjoko. I'm chilling live and direct from the west side. It's the best side. And I'm sitting with a guy. You ever meet somebody and like when you meet him, you're like, oh yeah, I'm about to be cool with this dude. We're about to be homies. That's Matt Lucas. Only he's my homie, he's not your homie for now.
Yeah.
Matt Lucas is an interesting guy. He is a martial artist. He is a writer. He is an educator. He is a teacher on so many things. And he created this system that I think is amazing called the Yama system. And I'm going to have him explain it to you. A lot of it is tied into something that I've only known about in fragments, right? Um, which is like the Persian grappling system and his understanding of that system. I haven't met anybody who knows more than him. Matt, thank you for being on Bishop Chronicles. How you doing today?
I'm great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you don't know anyone that knows as much about it as I do, but can I just say, because I'm the only person that you've met that knows.
But I know Persians that don't know as much as you.
Yeah. It's funny
You know what I'm
when
saying?
I was learning Persian martial arts, a lot of it was actually a lot of people were getting together and finding old books, and it was almost like an archaeological dig to discover the
To
Persian martial arts. That
rediscover
was,
what it was. So
yeah.
let me do this. Let me tell you my introduction to understanding just its existence,
Okay.
and then let's talk a bit about how you came in, what it is, and
Mhm.
how you came to learn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, because I just find this stuff fascinating. So many years ago, probably 1991, no,
Hmm.
1995.
Hmm.
I'm in a bookstore. I come across this thing called the Islamic Encyclopedia. I
Okay.
don't remember the author. The author was French, but it was only this big. So I knew it wasn't really an encyclopedia. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, it's
Yeah.
Islam,
Yeah.
bro. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ottomans, Turks, right? Moors. You know what I'm saying? Uyghurs. We got all
Hmm.
kinds of like, this is not, but I was like, interesting. You know what I mean? It was
Hmm.
a really heavy glossary, is the way that I kind of like, you
Hmm.
know, went through it. And so as I was going through it, learning all these different cool things, and I'm not hating on the book. It's actually a great book. I just don't know where it is anymore. Divorce. And so in it, there was this section on what they called the Zircana, and I'm sure I butcher it because I don't say it
Yeah. Zircone. Yeah. Yeah. This House of Strength.
right. This is right. So it said that these were the houses of wisdom where people would wrestle and do poetry.
Hmm.
And I was like, no kidding, right? So that's all I had for a
Yeah.
long time.
Hmm.
And then periodically I would see the people with those big bats, like the Iron Sheik, kind
Hmm.
of, you know what I mean? And I was
Yeah.
like, yo, that's really crazy. I know that's it. But I was like, but
Hmm.
I just didn't know anybody. And anytime I would talk to somebody, including some really cool Persian friends I have, they knew a lot, but they didn't know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They knew a lot of different things about Persia, but they didn't really know that. And
Hmm.
so that is all I know. Please enlighten me and our viewers more. What is the zircana? Where does it come from? What are those crazy bats? And why do they do it? Because I need it.
If you think about, just let's just talk about fascia. It's like we're just now starting to talk about these things, but this is an
Right.
old, old, old
It's
world.
ancient, authentically
Yeah.
ancient.
Yeah. And so they use the clubs, they use the push-up board. I think it's called Sheena. They use
Right.
the song, which is the shield, and then they use the bow, which is like over the head. It's like chains, and then the bow over the top.
Okay.
And each one of them kind of has its own sort of thing. The push-up board is you do many different types of push-ups from it, and it's a lot of the kind of circular
Right, right, like the
push-ups.
the what they would call the Hindu push-ups back in the
Yeah,
day or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hindu
Or
push-up, judo
jujitsu. We call
push-up.
them jujitsu push-ups, but yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And judo people call it judo push-up, and everyone calls it. And so the thing that I learned most about the Persians was how they blend. And I'm not even saying from how they blend with martial arts. I'm just saying like when I would meet Persians, you'd come in and they'd be like, because they want you to come in and train or whatever, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
if you came in and you were like, I do jujitsu, they'd be like, oh yeah, we do jujitsu.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah, or yeah, but if they're in another area and everyone's doing kung fu, they're like, oh yeah, we do kung fu, come and
Yeah,
do
come
kung fu. You
on,
know, it's
check it
like
out. Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
don't care what it's called. It's about being. It's about being in it.
Mm,
And so the clubs, like, think wrist strength, think structure, and think a lot of this circular motion, very, very, very powerful for wrestling. There's such a wrestling culture.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
massive,
mhm.
massive.
And even when I swing clubs, I don't know if I've swung clubs with you, but
No, you were showing me that one day when we were at the Afro Bushido Academy in Redwood City. Remember, you were
yeah.
kind of showing me some stuff, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's a whole other world, and it's kind of what, it's fitness meets fascia meets structure and range of motion. And then what a lot of these things do is, so even when I teach yoga, and now some people call it Persian yoga, but again, that goes back to, they'll call it whatever you need to hear in order for you to relate to it, in
and
order for you
stay.
to get in the door. Yeah.
Yeah,
After that, the truth is.
right,
And the truth doesn't speak any other language than is, right? That's
right.
it. So when, it's kind of like when you're getting choked, you're not thinking like, well, what's this called? It's like, you're just,
Is that
you're
the
getting,
Monteleone
yeah,
or
yeah,
or a
yeah,
variant of the
yeah.
Habib?
You're just like, that's all you know, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter what it's called. Once, these people would say, what kind of martial arts you do? And I go, I do the one that just doesn't want to get kicked in the nuts.
How about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one, right? So when you're doing the structure under that load. So, like, say if I'm doing yoga and I'm just holding a position when I'm stretching and the arms overhead. Now, if it's a tiny weight, right, I have all types of tolerances. I can muscle it.
Mhm.
But the second you're swinging something in motion or you're holding something over your head that is almost too heavy for you to hold, the tolerances go from this much on each side. They just close
Ooh,
in to
quick,
where
quick.
you have you have to have the pillars. You have to, and what wrestling is and what Tai Chi and all these, it's a dynamic architecture that is
Like that
adapting and moving
phrase.
in structure, right? So when you are holding that club and you're swinging it, a lot of people try to do these big swings, right? But that's why you just put a heavy one there, and all you do is you lift it up, and then you move your feet and turn, and it moves in a circle. You're just doing this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, when you're throwing everything, it's in these tight structures all the time, because you know that I might be strong here, but the second this moves in, now I'm done.
Yeah, folded. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like high level wrestling and high level martial arts. The tolerances are that of an inch on either side.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I know from wrestling, and if I'm in side control, you're pinning me
yeah.
down. All I need is like an inch to get my entire knee through you know what I mean? It's like,
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So this swinging, it builds the fascia, it opens up the ribs, which is when I do, I'm a body worker and I do,
Yeah,
all that stuff. I work on stunt guys and stuff. When we lock down and we don't get those ribs open, right? Think BJJ, we're here all the time,
yeah,
right? And those ribs are locked down.
yeah.
And so when these open up the ribs, every rib is moving like a little bucket handle, right? And so when those are open, I'm getting more breath. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
reaching my arm over my head, everything's fanning open
Mm-hmm.
to where I can actually stop slightly every quarter of a millimeter, like just these little slight dislocations and tears every time I'm moving in the dynamic range of motion that I'm making you move in order to fight you or
Yes.
spar with you, right? So these structures, sorry, this is my long is helps
No,
the
I'm
fascia,
I'm
the
with you.
the kind of bounding down and all that stuff, and helps the wrists,
Yeah.
makes you sink because if you have something that heavy and you lift your chest too much, you might fall back, you might collapse
Right.
down, right? It's all it is it's a level of truth and accountability to the gravity around you. And so when you do these structures, and when you do these exercises, that's the clubs. The clubs, wrist strength, grip strength, and then it also teaches the stamina of awareness. So in athletes, they want to try, but swing a 30-pound club for a 5-10 minute set, right? Your grip goes from here to here, and you
Oh
only
yeah.
grip when it's down. You only grip when it's down. You only, it's like it's
You
resting.
understand those nuances. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like in wrestling, right? Or in jujitsu, you're not holding, you're finding your structures. You're finding your structures. You're finding your structures all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so once you find the structures, this teaches you without taking damage all the time.
Yeah.
The push-up board, think
Yeah.
lengthening the spine, moving in circles, think core
Hmm.
work, all that stuff. Over the head, shaking, think core opening ribs. Yeah.
Right, right. Now
Mhm.
you also have a black belt in judo that you got when you were how old? When did you start
Um,
doing judo and why?
my I have a black belt in I did taekwondo, judo, and then there's like hapkido kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
moved into the Persian stuff.
Okay.
So the black belt came from taekwondo and then in judo, and that was like the taekwondo was like a junior black belt where they just tell you like it was
Yeah.
with the guy that got taekwondo into the Olympics. So he was
Damn.
the head judge of the 88 Olympics. And then I went to judo. I didn't go all the way up through the belt rank in judo because by the time I started getting up higher, I had moved into the Persian stuff, wrestling stuff, and I
Right,
was
right.
just, yeah. So I'd gone through like Junior Olympics in judo, got to like green belt, and then in that system, the Japanese
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
then once I started finding the stuff that was challenging me with submissions and challenging me with this stamina and this training, it blew my mind. And so
And
then I went
how
through
did
the
you come into
ranks.
that? Tell me how
Um,
you came into it. Because I mean, like your journey is
mm,
one of the most like guys, when you see that dude in the old ads, like this is the most interesting man in the world. They lied
mm.
to you. It's him. It's Matt Lucas.
Well, I got into it. Well, we traveled a lot as kids. Dad was in radio. He was out of military and then in radio, and so we were traveling around. But he was a special forces guy before that, and so he's very particular of the way I trained. So, like first, second, 5, 6 years old, he's like, "You got to learn to fall. You're going to take judo straight up." I fell in love with it. Then when we finally made it to Florida and we sort of started settling, then I met the Olympic Taekwondo guy. He was here to train military. He was a military I believe he was like working with Secret Service. He was like this Korean politician slash, those old school Korean masters. They're like
Diplomat
coming out of the, yeah,
slash
yeah, yeah,
slash.
one of those guys. Yeah.
Right, right.
And so we got to work with him, and then out of that, then I remember him talking about this one guy that they're all training under, like when I was older, probably like teenager. And then I was like, I gotta hear about this guy. If this guy, these guys like doing all the one finger handstands and
Mhm.
meditating and standing splits and just like the most badass guys. I mean, still to this day, like that guy is. I've never seen a human being do what he could do, and he was in his 70s. And then they're talking about this Persian guy,
Right.
and I was like, I gotta find this dude. And so then I went kind of on a hunt and sort of found him, and it was really cool. And then that kind of linked me up with, yeah, and I started getting into the Persian stuff, and the
So
Persian
what
stuff
was it
was
like when
really,
you found him? Like,
um,
what do
the
you
first
remember
bit it
about
was
that
just
day and like the first kind of classes and stuff?
you're just kind of I mean, at first they're just kind of closed off, and you're just sort of there, and he just sort of, I remember the first lesson that he taught me, and it was just like he just taught me like a basically just like a punch, and they just walked out of the room, and it's just like your job is to
Wow.
just practice that. And
Throw
it was,
left. I'll see you in an
yeah.
hour.
And it's, it's like as much as I love the teacher, I really fell in love with the community that it brought me around because it was very much up to, like, those workouts are just basically do the training.
Hmm.
And then you get with the people and you play, and you get with the people and you play. So what I mainly learned from it was train, condition your body, know that we have something to do later, and then you start working with other martial arts. You start, it's kind of how BJJ became so effective. It's
Right,
like
right,
they
right,
weren't
right.
insulated. So I learned most about the body, and I learned about what it means to have a body that can learn. Right.
Mm.
What are the fundamentals of structure and movement? Breath, relaxation, structure, and motion. What are the fundamentals? And then how can I go into an environment, check my ego, and become a, it's like what I tell people a lot is like the Yama system. What I sell isn't fitness, it isn't excitement, it isn't anything more than capacity, right? We talked about this the other day.
Yeah, yeah,
We need capacity to learn. We need capacity to not believe everything, because I mean, I learned from a lot of great martial artists, and I learned from a lot of people that, I mean, some of the best teachings I learned were from people that I don't really believe in what they were doing.
right.
But it taught me to question on such a level that I was like, I don't believe this. And then I would try it with wholeheartedly and just be
Yeah.
getting losing and getting hurt and everything, and next thing you know, you're like, maybe, but you learn so much on the way, right?
I
You'd be
love it.
amazed on how many people, if you can humbly go into a room and try some outlandish dumb stuff, how many people are just going to start teaching you real stuff?
Yeah, that's
You know what I
real.
mean?
It's funny. It's funny you say that. Yesterday, literally last night, I interviewed a guy named
Hmm.
Nick Green. He's one of Ralph Gracie's coldest savages from San Francisco, and he was talking
Okay.
about a legendary teacher out of that gym named Kurt Osiander, who taught me a lot
Okay.
about jujitsu. And he was explaining how even now, when some noob comes into the gym, I mean, we used to just devour these people. Like, first of all, like old school
Hmm.
Ralph Gracie, like if
Yeah.
you came in and you couldn't hang or you didn't know, you suffered the consequences for that ignorance. And we may or may not show you why. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, more often than not, we
Hmm.
wouldn't show you just to see if you would come back, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
He was just saying how Kurt will just sit with like one of the new white belts who doesn't even know what a legend they're next to. And they'll be like, all
Hmm.
right, so when you're doing an armbar, you want to grab like this and this or da da da, you know, and he's always friendly, he's always engaging, he's always trying to uplift him. And it's funny the way that you're talking about it because that's one of the main things I remember about Kurt is that for all of the savages that were in the room when I was there, again, BJ Penn, Dave Camarillo,
Hmm.
like Cameron Earl, all these crazy Bobby
Yeah.
South, like really, right? And I'm at
Yeah.
the bottom of that
Legends.
barrel. I am the
Yeah.
crab at the very bottom
Hmm.
of that
Hmm.
barrel. And he would be like, let me show you why your armbar sucks. And he'd show me
Mm.
how to be dope. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like
Yeah.
that always brought me back because I didn't care if I just kept getting mauled. I didn't care if I'd still be at the bottom
Mhm.
because it was the upliftment. You know what I mean? And that's the part of the community that I think that really kept
It's,
me there.
the other thing that I really appreciate about the Persian conditioning was it makes you tough,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes you tough in this kind of almost yogic way. Your range of motion gets crazy. And so I was able to stay in and just kind of get the crap kicked out of me until I learned.
Yeah.
And I was also able to kind of regulate enough of my nervous system because I was always learning healing arts and these other things. So to just sort of, I mean, my dad, and I mean, you and I have talked about a lot of this stuff, but it's like my dad and my training is always about, knowing how to like calm down, return back to breath. And because when there's real consequences on the line, excited people are very careless, right? So how do
Very
we
careless.
manage our excitement? So, but that conditioning, it really allowed, and I'm not saying I'm tough, but I'm just saying I was no longer afraid of just kind of losing. And my other thing that I really liked is I was a lot of times one of the only kids around.
Right.
And so I never expected to be winning against adult men that are doing things
You're
professionally.
just
You know
like,
what I mean?
I'm getting killed, and that's the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And so then you build the idea of like play, 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 play. Right? I'm not chasing glory. I'm not chasing the quote false idols of what we kind of can fall into if we're amongst too many of our peers and we get into that I'm chasing glory and trophies, and it's like, all of that stuff is part of our marketing and is part of our success, and it's talismans of like, yeah, I did this and this and this, but that's not the goal. The
Right.
goal is character building, the goal is health and longevity and all these other things. Like there's broader if we can get past that stuff. So since I wasn't really around that, I was just in the practice all the time. And yeah, so it was very powerful. I'm grateful
So
for that.
no, so you really speaking to something that is a big part of my jujitsu journey now, but has always been actually the cornerstone of it's been a long-standing cornerstone of my jujitsu journey, and that is longevity. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I met Elio Gracie when he was 86. I interviewed him, and
Hmm.
so lively. He had the gi on. He was like, "Hey, try to grab my wrist," plow, like getting out, like all kind of stuff, right? And I remember I had already been training at house, but I was looking at Elio like, yeah, I want to be like him,
Yeah.
right? When I am 86, I want to be like him. I had never seen anybody who looked as alive as he did
Hmm.
at his age. Like he looked young, even though you were looking at a technically 86-year-old man. He
Yeah.
didn't move, talk, smile, or laugh like an 86-year-old
Hmm.
average human. And so I was like, I want to do jujitsu forever. And I've told this story hundreds of times, but the point is, I knew when I said forever, it meant not a world champion. The
Right.
UFC was brand new, and I was doing it off videotapes before the UFC existed. But I ain't trying to go to no damn cage. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? I just want to learn how to defend myself and not get my ass kicked in front of my now ex-wife. I'm just trying to live, right? Like, if I'm pushing my son across the through the mall and some shit pops off, I just want to like, psh, 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 and like that be the thing. Like, if that
Yeah.
happens to me, I could accept it if the person was better, got the best of me. But if I wasn't training for that moment, I was going to feel bad about it. So I wanted to be just good and do this forever.
Hmm.
Now at 55, I'll be 56 in a few weeks, inshallah. Um,
Wow.
what I'm trying to do is make sure that I can do jujitsu until I'm 86. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at
Hmm.
like the 86-year-old Adisa who's still able to teach. That's what I want out of this. And so part of my attraction to what you do and what you teach is because when I hear you talk and I watch you move and I feel you do fucked up things to me, like Nils still laughs at me for when you did that tree pose on my rib.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, the way your eyes looked, I never saw that. And I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I was
Hmm.
dying. But my point is,
Yeah, it's little
my point,
tweaks, little tweaks.
my point is that I feel like the Yama system can and should be my insurance policy on the longevity that I'm hoping to
Mm.
have in jiu-jitsu.
It's funny, you're the second, no, well, two people called me, like a couple. They called me and they were like, "Hey, we feel that this, like when we do this, we feel that this is our future."
Yeah, dude.
And and the way I practice it, there's basically it's 6 circuits, right? That's all it is. And you have a standing, you have a conditioning, and you have a seated.
Okay.
And then when you get more advanced, you would do a standing and you would do a conditioning and a seated, but then you would add load,
Okay.
right? Meaning whether it's
Makes
weight or
sense.
was
Yeah,
something,
now, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because once you build the structure, then you want to test the structure.
Right, right, right.
And it's very cut and dry. It's not as flowy as like yoga or kung fu. It's very like wrestling,
Right.
and it's
Yeah,
very,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
a lot of, but there is some circles because also, it's like there's a wax on, wax off, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
understanding range of motion, but the range of motion is always in a structure. So I always want to build liberation and limitation, right? So we first want to figure out what our what limitations are, and when you know your limitations, then you can slowly widen them, right? And just by doing the practice, they will widen. You don't have to try, right?
Got you.
Your capacity will grow. But if you try to chase change, this is what kind of gets me sometimes when I work with people in the fitness world, and is because, you're like, I want to run a half marathon by May 31st. And this, and it's like, no, you're you're focusing on the fruit, not the soil.
On the expectation and not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the
And
cornerstone of what's making it
and
happen.
you're rushing change, and nature changes at the pace that system changes at.
Yeah,
So your job is to connect with your system and then change in the pace you can adapt to, right? And this is where we're always trying to rush things, right? I want to look this way by summer. I want to do this by this time. I have a tournament coming up, right? Oh, I got to think, right? And nature's not concerned about your good time. Nature is not going to
ah,
speed things up, right? And so the idea is to always be able to take a moment in and witness your capacity. So these 6 things will show you your capacity and flexibility, strength, range of motion, seated, standing, right? That's the idea. And once you know those, then we can work from there.
Dude, I'm telling you guys, man, like this guy is unusual and the skill set is uncommon and
Yeah.
very versatile. One of the things that made me laugh when like there's certain things when I see people do certain things and I laugh. And the laughter isn't from mockery or a lack of respect. The laughter is the clarity and beauty of movement, right?
Wow.
When you see a thing executed like you
Mm,
wish you could do it, you're
mm,
like, damn. So like there's a guy named Tony Leo in Leeds, UK, and he's a boxing coach at a place called Castle
mm.
Boxing. And so
You were just there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he was one
Yeah.
of my first like friends there, and
Hmm.
he's one of like my best friends for real. And one of the things that's funny is when I met him, I was crossing the street. He comes out of this barber shop, and he's like a husky, like neck tatted, arms.
Hmm.
He was like, "Hey," and I'm on the other side of the crosswalk because he was calling me, and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Are you that guy that does jujitsu?" And I was like, "I don't know." I mean, like, you look threatening.
What am I supposed to say?
I may not
Yeah.
be him. I may not
Yeah.
be him. But
That guy.
I
Okay.
was like, I am. He's like, oh, I heard a lot about you. You know, we're the friend of a
Yeah.
friend, and I want, and we became really tight. Well,
Hmm.
when one day he was explaining to me something about boxing, he was standing across from me and he was like, "Yeah, so what I like to do is," and bro, when I tell you his hands were so like
Hmm.
footwork, pivot, da da da. He's like, I'm just, and I like chuckled because I was like, oh, I would have gotten completely
Yeah.
folded by
Yeah.
that. I
Hmm.
was like, yo, this, like some people, I do boxing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people embody what it,
Yeah. Hmm.
the like all of his, his hand is
Yeah.
the way the hip turn, whatever. And I was like, damn, this dude is dope. In the same way, when I was with you, when we were at Nils' place, and you had me in case of Gatami, that's a headlock for those that
Hmm.
don't, had me
Hmm.
in case of Gatami, and I was talking to you about the nature of pressure because this is a thing that I always am trying to cultivate.
Hmm.
And you were talking about the bandas and how to
Yeah.
like tighten them up. And let me tell you guys, he already had a superior position, whatever. On paper, it's already good. But what creates the pressure in a lot of these classic pins is like your relationship to the earth, how like your rib cage is kind of connected to their torso, and all these things. When he tightened that whole thing up, like I could feel like a very slow vice crunching down, and I had never felt anything like
Hmm.
that. Explain what that is, and it's it was a powerful experience about the nature of the inner structure. Because yes,
Hmm.
you technically had the case of Gatami,
Yeah.
and I've been in case of Gatami, horrible case of Gatamis, 100 times
Hmm.
before. But how you ratcheted up that pressure
Hmm.
without a squeeze, without an
Yeah.
additional squeeze. There was no like that was really mind blowing. Can you talk about Bondas for a minute and how that plays a part in your
Yeah.
structure as you grapple?
Yeah. So there's three bandhas, right? Well, there's more than that, but like the three that you focus on is basically perineum,
Yeah,
navel, and then the throat, right? And these are three parts of your spine, right? If you well, the perineum's not, but if you think low back and
right,
then you think ribs and neck, right?
right,
So what you're doing is when you're in these positions, like whatever the position is, like even like everyone can do this technically. Like so if you were to like tuck your tail and then you were to wrench your tail back and then you were to find its center, now, there's these little curves in your spine. You don't want them too curved and you don't
right.
want them
Too essy.
straight. Yeah.
Right.
So you want it just enough to where you can just kind of engage it and it's holding that structure. Because that little curve is kind of a suspension system, right?
Hmm.
But if I straighten it, it's hard, so I want
Right.
this. And if it's too much, it's just collapsing. So
Just collapses.
yeah, so basically you're basically trying to touch in a gentle way, the belly button to the butthole. and it
Right.
lengthens the low back and fortifies the low back, and it can lengthen you. And then, but what happens is we're always looking down. And when you're looking down, whether computer, reading, phone, or jujitsu, or when we're tight like
Right.
this, I'm hunched. And what'll happen is this is collapsed in, right?
Hmm.
And now this is down. So I'm
Right. It's
fighting
all
all the
giving.
time.
Right.
Yeah. So what you want to be able to do is when you can gently pull this back just enough, drop the chin and pull it into the throat just enough and then lengthen, then I can still hold structure. And now I'm able to move with this structure. I'm not super tight. I'm just kind of exaggerating,
Yeah.
but now I just fortified my structure. So even if I'm cranking in on you and I'm holding you, I'm hunched. See this? So if I can drop my chin and pull in, just see, it
Yeah.
just lengthens just a little bit. So instead of trying to go here, where people keep you drop your chin, lift, and just almost, you're almost like
Dude.
pulling from the top, and
Dude.
so it gives you that down and up, and it fortifies your spine. In every place that you're not a little bit fortified is place energy escapes. Same thing, punching bent wrist, energy
Right.
escapes, right? So
Right.
I fortify, boom, right? Fortify the fist. Now energy doesn't escape, right? But
Right.
if I bend a little bit, energy escapes.
Tapes.
That's all we're trying. Yeah, we're trying to, and that's what the bandhas, they said, the locks of the body keep those places from escaping. Keep,
Right. And have that
yeah.
alignment in order and
Mhm.
deliberate
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy, bro. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it also, what it allows us to do is not have to try so hard,
Right.
right?
Right.
Which, I mean, the most
Which is
mind-blowing
the
thing.
root of jujitsu, right? And
Yeah, I
judo.
was gonna say, yeah, jujitsu is you get to feel the power of lazy, man. Oh my God. Phew.
You
You
absolutely
you get lazy with intention.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
crazy.
helpless. Totally helpless.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. What are you drinking over
Mhm.
there?
I am drinking Tulsi with mint.
All right, all right. Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
What are you drinking?
I've got a personal blend of
Oh, no.
jasmine green
Ooh.
with a nice oolong from India,
Mhm.
and it's quite the beverage. Just a skosh of
Mm,
honey and a little lemon juice. You know what I'm saying? A skosh.
mm,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? We're good to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Let me tell you one of the things that it's like I really appreciate the fact that you are seeking longevity because I mean, and also, I mean, when I first met Adisa, I was like, because I write poetry and songs
This guy's
you know,
amazing. He's
and
so complex. But go ahead. So,
and so I mean, in my background was I was a musician, touring musician, and then and before that I was a chef, right? So I love cooking. I love music, food, and movement. Those are my three favorite things. Found them early. Don't really need much more after that. And so when I was and when I met you, I was like, if to meet someone that is not chasing but is interested in also pursuing the practice of connecting mind body spiritual stuff and
yeah,
actually like intellectual pursuits along with the body because it allows there's a lot of people that either choose philosophy or we're choosing we almost like have to choose these days pick our major and
dude.
you have picked like a such a combination of yeah good on you
So can
man.
I tell you how I got there? Can I tell you how I got to that
Hmm.
mindset? So
Please.
when I was young, I interviewed Easy E when I was still in high school, and but I
Hmm.
was a horrible, about to drop out, binge drinking, D's and F's kind of person.
Yeah.
Okay. And um, so I drop out,
Okay.
I go get my GED like a year later,
Hmm.
and when I have my GED, I stumbled across the Public Enemy song "Bring the Noise," which sampled Malcolm X at the very beginning. Too black, too
Hmm.
strong at the
Hmm.
beginning of that
Hmm.
song. I knew I had heard it. I asked my dad where that had come from. He goes, "Oh, that's from a record I have downstairs when I was a kid, like 9." Sometimes he would cook breakfast in the morning, and then he would have me listen to Malcolm X records. Like I would just like sit by the speaker, and he'd like do the dishes or whatever while I listen to Malcolm X. So I'm thinking I'm
Okay.
going to out sample Public Enemy. I'm like, they only took two words, bro. I'm about to ball, right? So I'm looking, I can't find it. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I gotta listen. So I was like, oh, it's not on this one. There was two records. I listened to the other one. I'm like, damn, this dude's making hella points. So then I end
Hmm.
up reading the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh.
Sets my mind on fire for learning because he did a lot of his reading in jail. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, I'm
Hmm.
free. I can read now all the time. So I start trading my hip hop records for books. Like I would literally go to this place called Reckless Records on Haight Street, offload a bunch of music, take that money, go to Marcus bookstores in the Fillmore, buy a bunch of books, Malcolm X, Ancient Egypt, whatever, whatever. So in the course of that, the woman that owned Marcus Books shows me this book called The Teachings of Ptahhotep. Ptahhotep was in line to be a pharaoh, and he wrote one of the oldest complete books in the world.
Mm.
So basically, he was in line to be pharaoh, but unlike a lot of the European kings who would slash each other and try to take each other out, he was like, I'm a spiritual guy. I don't want to be pharaoh. So he gave the pharaohship to his brother, right? So his brother becomes pharaoh. He goes off to be a spiritual guy, and then when his brother gets old, like I'm gonna retire, he was like, "Hey man, I um I I need you to write something for my son because he's gonna be the next pharaoh, and I need a book of leadership from you. It's a really paper thin book on leadership. You can get it on Amazon. Only get the one with the yellow and black cover. Do not get any other ones because a lot of those translations are trash, just to be honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
The translator is Asa Hilliard. So anyway, it's this book of leadership. Now there's Ptahhotep and then there's Imhotep. Imhotep was the architect of the first step pyramid. So when you see the
Okay.
in Saqqara in Kemet, modern day Egypt.
Okay.
So I was like, yo, like when you read about Imhotep, you're like, oh, well, let me learn about this architect. And he's like, oh, Imhotep was an architect, a vizier, he was a physician, like he was all of these things. And
Hmm.
at this time, I'm like just getting my GED. I'm like 20, 19, 20 years old. And I'm like, man, in America and like old school Europe, you can only be one thing. You're a knight, bro. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't start thinking about religion. Just keep swinging that sword until further notice, right? You make horseshoes, bro. Don't start, you know what I mean? Or you're the
Hmm.
religious guy. Don't start thinking about philosophy. Just stay on this God thing, whatever. And I was like, at the time I was rapping, and by this time, like I'm opening up for Gangstar, Organized Confusion, Onyx, like big shows. And people are like, you
Wow.
guys might be next. You guys might, get signed or whatever. And I was like, so do I want to be a rapper or do I want to be a writer? And it was a big problem for me. And by the
Hmm.
time I finished the teachings of Tahotep, I was sitting at the end of my parents' block. I was literally sitting on the corner, finished that book, and I'm looking around. It's a beautiful hot day. And I was like, what do I want to be? Like, and I was like, you can be all of it.
Yeah.
I said Imhotep was a vizier, he was an architect, he was a physician. You don't have to be a rapper or a writer. You can be both. And so then when I learned about Dr. Joseph Campbell, who influenced my work massively, right?
Hmm.
He taught a lot about the perennial philosophies, right? The idea that something that's in Native American tradition is in Christianity, is also in Islam, is also in some Mongolian
Hmm.
tribe, whatever. And so I started his work and the work of this guy named Dr. John Henrik Clarke taught me to boil down things quick,
Yep.
question everything, and don't believe that there's only one way or that things are not connected. And
Well,
so
this brings me. Oh,
that's how
sorry.
I got it. Oh, it's chess and it's hip hop and it's jujitsu and it's
Hmm.
right Sufism and it's stoicism. And people go, oh man, how come you talking more about stoicism than you talking about Islam? You're talking, bro. I talk about all of it. If you could see the crazy books that are in this room right now, you'd get it. You know what I mean? But you,
Hmm. Well, okay. So, I mean, that's what I said at the beginning. It's like whatever gets you there, right? And it's the amount of people that are like, what does this martial art do? What does this martial art do? What does this martial art? I'm like, they're all kind of doing. Yeah, they might look different, but like when you're in the scuffle, man, like it kind of we're either striking, wrestling, or we're
yeah,
grappling. Um, and so I agree with you on that. And not only that, but what I I zoom out to the essence of things too, longevity, right? And um, I was very tuned in to Cyrano de Bergerac. Loved, the poet warrior, man, like anyone that
Right?
was a great thinker, because this work is to help us embody things, put stress on our bodies, but then, martial arts was the first Second Amendment, right? It was to help balance out
Mm.
powers, people coming in, taking things, but now the peasants, we have, empty hand and all these other
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's what all
It's the
those Bruce Lee
first,
films and the Wu-Tang
yeah,
flicks were about,
hmm
right? Like the people
yeah,
coming together to fight against, right?
yeah,
This
oppressive
government. You know what I
forces.
mean?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so this stuff is that. And then also in the longevity thing, you can't be this. So it's like I started viewing what is the trajectory of art, martial arts, writing, and and so communication, it's all communication, right? Low
Yeah,
level communication, violence.
yeah.
High level is presence. And in between, words and stuff, right?
Mm, I like that.
and and
Yeah.
so like, think of what violence is asking for, right? I want to be seen. Oh, I need your wallet. It's like I need food, right? It's like,
I want
it's
to be.
like it's
No, I
it's
need your
just
phone.
saying you disrespected me, you're in my territory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is it, right? It's a low level form of communication. It's a tantrum sometimes, right? And then presence is you just walk in and things change, right?
People know.
Right. So we got that. That's the physical thing. And then we come over here to martial arts. Low level martial arts is our first thing. We're learning
Hmm.
basically brutality, violence,
Hmm. Hmm.
how to you're basically learning how to hurt yourself first because you're not good at it. And then later you learn how to hurt someone else. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah, and then over time you get to learn how to submit them, not beat them to death, and
Yeah.
and then you learn to control that energy. And then over time though, you learn how to hold space, then you learn how to heal people, and then
Yeah.
it's all the same energy. Poison becomes medicine when we have intention, education, and dosage, right?
Are
So
you just gonna even give the Harvard lecture in one show? This is crazy.
yeah, well, it's like this is book I'm editing too. So it's like if we have violence to presence and we have killing to healing. And so this is what I tell to all martial artists. Like, if we're just learning the athletic side of it, because I lovingly talk smack about athleticism because I'm not an athlete.
Right.
But athleticism is there to cultivate stress, to cultivate presence, to cultivate, the unknown in a pretty safe environment, to where we call it the safety. You've got to flaw our system with safety. So, the safety is I get to tap. There's mats on the floor. These are flaws that we
Hmm.
put in
Hmm.
place to where we can practice as flat out as possible and get the most real experience without damage because we all got something to do later. But if all we're chasing is that, then we forget about the healing, and the next thing you know, we become addicted to trying to prove that we're the toughest guy in the room.
It's real,
But
bro. And that is the death of martial arts. When I see
yeah.
adults or kids
Hmm.
who get ready to quit or who do quit for real,
Yeah.
always
Hmm.
because they've turned their learning session into a win-loss record. And they're like, I
Hmm.
won two, I lost three, I'm not
Yep.
good. I'm gonna go do something else.
And
And
that's
it's like,
chasing false
bro,
idols.
yeah,
That's
it's like,
chasing
bro, you're
false idols.
supposed to just
Mm.
learn.
Yeah.
None of this even matters. I'm like, in fact,
Yeah.
this is where you want to lose.
Yeah.
You want to lose right here over and over again
Yep.
until you can get good so that when something, God forbid, happens out there, you know what you know, and you know how to approach the situation. But if you only allow it to be this binary win-loss record,
Hmm.
you lose the spirit of the teaching. If you lose the spirit of the teaching, um, that data, those ones and zeros, they're cold, they're unfeeling, they're right. And you can be like, oh, well, I lost the match, but you don't realize you escaped the mount four times. You got
Okay.
tapped out, but you escaped the mat
Yeah.
four times, and that's more important than the fact that you lost.
Oh, that and that's the whole thing, is like we get more contrast when we're getting the shit kicked out, and you're like, yeah, but today, like, I just tapped. I didn't, like,
Yeah,
it wasn't, it's like, woo, you got nowhere to go but up. Right? Hey,
totally.
the other thing about that work is, so if we look at, I've brought the Second Amendment in, right? I teach, I wrote this long thing about how the Second Amendment's not really about guns, it's about technology, right?
Mm,
And because the firearm was the height of technology at that time that could balance out power,
Right.
right? So now, I don't even know why we're even talking about that. It should be all access to technology.
Right.
And so, but when the reason why I'm bringing that up is when we understand like that technology was started as martial arts, and martial arts was a longevity system because a long time ago you needed to know how to keep people from taking your life. So that's
Yeah, it
part of
was important.
longevity. Yeah, it's part of longevity. And but the other thing is I want everyone this is an exercise I love doing. Everyone think about if you're an athlete, um, think about what age you were when you got your first surgery,
Mm.
right? When Because I know people that didn't even make it out of high school without knee replacements and
Yeah, yeah,
shoulder.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So think about that age. That's when your career ended when martial arts was created. There was no career. If so, that's why the teachers, these old guys that you had the privilege of learning from, that I had the privilege, that were in their 70s, elderly people that were ripped muscle, doing feats of strength and
That we
movement and
couldn't hang with.
grace, not even today.
Yeah.
So y- I agree that now we have these breakthrough ways to get people to higher levels, but we also have breakthrough ways because we have surgery to keep putting them back on the mat.
Dude, it's funny you say that because there's a guy named Robert Drysdale. He wrote this book called Opening Closed Guard, which is a history book on jiu-jitsu. It's one of the
Okay.
best ever.
Yeah.
You totally
Yeah.
get it. He also wrote The Rise and Evolution of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a much
Hmm.
bigger version of that book, all gold. And apparently he has a new book out that someone told me about. Anyway, I'm about to interview him. The point is, he talked about towards the end of The Rise and Evolution of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he said the reason leg locks are all the rage in jiu-jitsu right now is because surgery
You get
allowed for the
surgery.
healing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where before you got in a leg lock, dog, finito.
Done.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming to the game.
Yeah. And so this is a funny thing. Like I was working with some guy years ago, right? And I was like, this is the type of way that we can train full out because this is what hurts like traditional martial arts to say we train for death and to kill,
Not
but
death.
yeah, oh my god, it's like, guys, this is an ancient eagle claw that, oh man, yeah, right,
Wait until I get you.
and if I had grown up farming with that level of grip strength, this eagle claw would actually mean something,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But now it's like I'm just trying to open jars like everyone else. You know what I mean? It's
Suburban
like,
Fred's at the house
yeah,
trying to undo the
yeah,
pesto.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, just like ding ding, just whacking it with a knife. You know what I mean? Just embarrassing. And so, okay, so we got the ancient eagle claw, of course. You're
Yeah,
Swayze all day, and yeah,
yeah,
right, all this stuff.
yeah.
But like what I would do is like, okay, so we're gonna take all those things away, and then we're gonna place ourselves. That's why the gentle way, was so powerful because we're gonna flaw this war thing that we're all talking about, and we're gonna not eagle claw each other and no, monkey snatches peaches and biting,
Right,
and
right, right.
and
Exactly.
but now we can actually go. And
Right.
now we have access to stress. And what jujitsu and wrestlers and grapplers have more than other systems, because other systems will say, well, we punch and we do, but you don't have access to be able to produce the level of stress that is required for the consciousness, for the decision making in actual stressful environments. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's amazing. But then I challenge athletes that are really good at that level of stress. Like I get done working with a military guy or whatever,
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago, and I was like, your stress is, can you practice without any other stimulation other than yourself? Can you go into this work not wanting to, quote, feel the burn or feel the athleticism? Can you can you go into it without any future promise of potential glory? That's crazy stressful for people because now you're just in, as opposed to.
It's deep that you just said this because literally, again, I'm talking to this guy, Nick Green, Professor Nick Green from Half Gracie, and
Mhm,
he told me that he's competed a lot. He's done
mhm.
ABCC back in the day as a blue belt and like won, did all this different stuff. And I was like, how did you, he was like, I just never cared about losing. And I
Yeah.
was like, how did you do that? So then, like, I was thinking about it because 2 episodes back, I did a whole thing on the history of Miyamoto Musashi. And
Yeah.
he talks it, over and over again about not attaching yourself to outcomes,
Yeah.
just going.
That's
You know what I
well,
mean? And
that's
I
the
was like,
heart.
damn,
Yeah.
I was like, how can I get myself to that point? Like to just be like Nick, like Miyamoto Musashi's on the moon, he's on Mars. I'm never gonna get there. But to let go
Yeah.
of pride, of reputation, of whatever chain of what ifs, you know what I mean? Haunt the back of your cranium
Can
to
I
just do it.
can I just like basically I love sharing this
Yep.
because everyone knows this and so this is a lot of my work is this. I write on it, I teach on it, I have all my stuff, all my clients. I'm
Mhm.
sitting in my at my bodywork table where I work with the personal training, all this
Right,
other stuff.
right.
But like you can tell, I can teach, I can tell everyone this all day. None of it matters unless we're actually practicing it. So what you just said is a result. Like I had this like boom, I had an injury and I've basically been meditating, 3 to 5 hours a day for the past like 4 or 5 years. And I've been meditating for 40 years. But over the past few years, this thing hit me the other day and about 2 years ago. And I was like, oh yeah, if to love is to not judge,
Hmm.
that's all it is. Not judging. There's no
Right,
bad, good, right, or wrong. We're
right.
just viewing. We all forgot to love ourselves.
Why
And
you trying to
if
make me cry at the end of the show, bro?
and yeah, and if we can actually sit there and love ourselves, then we no longer hold on to these outcomes because once you love yourself, you can now lovingly take a checklist of all of the external metrics and results that you use in order to define whether or not you're a piece of shit.
Damn.
And if I don't have money in the bank or look like this in the mirror or trophies all over that wall, those are the external metrics that we use to decide whether or not we're worth anything. And the day we love ourselves is the day you can go into your heart and you can sit there and you can say, no matter what's on the wall, no matter how much money's in the bank, I'm I'm here. I'm present. I'm worth something. And I remember going through that moment. I stopped teaching for a moment because if no one showed up to class, I felt like a piece of shit. If
Yeah.
no one showed up to my shows, I felt like, well, it was worthless. And I was like, wait, but that doesn't mean I'm not good. That doesn't mean I don't have anything to offer. It just means a bunch of other things. So I was like, until I can feel actually that I don't judge myself for any of this and that I actually love myself, I shouldn't be teaching because I'm just taking from everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, look. On that note, we have to shut this down
Oh,
only because I got to go teach over at Half Gracie
oh, yeah.
uh, right now. But listen, bro, you need to come back. Like,
I,
I need to have you back on the show quickly. And beyond that,
mhm.
let people know where they can get a hold of you. And I'm telling you, whether you're a martial artist, whether you are like a young woman, middle-aged woman, an old woman, right? Uh, a dancer, like there's no thing you can be in pursuit of that I don't believe that what he's teaching won't help you.
I
So
teach them all.
that's right.
Yeah.
So tell them how to get a hold of you.
Go to www.theyamasystem, THEYAMA system.com. You can go there. There's everything you need. I do personal stuff, workshops. I've been on tour, just teaching all over,
Yeah,
private workshops, small groups. I don't do huge things. I think it dilutes the intimacy of
and the
this work.
connection. Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
connection.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, that's the easiest way. Go there again, www.theyamasystem.com. You can also get me with my collaboration with www.theeighttpiece, the8piece.com. That's with David Way and
Hey,
Sheldon.
Master Way all day.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Qigong. But yeah, the Yama system is fitness, mobility, and mindset work. through like journaling exercises and
Mhm.
blending all of that. And I do what's called the body map, which is every part of your body holds a certain type of thing, which you don't want to get me in on all my crap that I see all these FBI people teach on. It, don't get me started on that crap. Stop thinking you're Sherlock Holmes. Learn to turn it in and view yourself, not stand there and sizing everyone else up.
Damn.
It's
Sounds
arrogant
like Sun
crap
Tzu
thinking
talk
you're,
right there.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
love it.
so that's what I teach. I love it. I love sharing it with you. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
likewise, likewise.
Hi.
Dude, so
And
I
I'm
will.
grateful to be a part of your world right now. Like, thank
Dude,
you for
so
coming into
hyped,
what I
dude. I'm
do.
so
And
hyped.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we will circle back soon. I absolutely gotta get some
yeah.
time in on the mat with you. I still got a
Hmm.
little bit of the footage from that last time I saw you at Master Ways, and like I was showing someone that takedown that you showed me on the side of his house. And
Oh
like as
yeah,
soon as I got the grip, the dude was like, "Oh." I was like, "Yeah, it gets
yeah,
worse."
yeah, yeah.
This is just the beginning, my boy. He was like, yo. So like I'm just so juiced, man. But thank you so much. I appreciate you for sharing your wisdom and stuff today. And I
Thank you.
definitely have you back soon. And thank you for being on Bishop Chronicles, man.
Can I give you a round of applause?
I can't accept them, but
Gotta love yourself. Take it in, man. You gotta take it. You gotta take it. You gotta take it. Now, one trophy on your wall behind you, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know where your trophies are, but I don't need them to know. Yeah. Oh
well,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Thanks for
And
this.
guys, listen, do not sleep on the Miyamoto Musashi episode, right? Go
Oh
check that
no.
out. Do not sleep on the David Frazee episode, Money Mondays, right? I'm broke. I'm talking
Hmm.
to people that aren't broke about how not to be broke, and it's going well. All right. Money Mondays episode 2, and Nick Green. It's going down, and I'm gonna have a guided meditation for you dropping soon. All right. Stay blessed in between time, and peace to the planet.
See you, man.